I watch it to see, but yeah, we, kind of what happens with Wayne IMD and
Gonna open up.
You gotta mute yourself.
The rapper also. Yes.
On the agenda. We good? We're good. Somebody help her. Agenda's reports and reports. All right.
And I just.
That'll work.
Everybody online still hear me?
Can you guys hear us online?
Yeah, we can hear you now. The echo's gone.
All
Good.
right, thank you.
Much better.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, number 3 on the agenda, reports and updates. I thought it would be a good to talk about. I think it was February 1st up in Lake County, the BP Whiting Refinery. They had a power outage, and you can't just turn the power off on a refinery operation. They got a lot of processes that have to be shut down, and then they have flares that turn on to relieve the pressure with the processes they got to get rid of. And so February 1st, they had a significant power outage where that refinery went into automated emergency mode. And so six flares kicked off to burn off all the products that they needed to relieve the pressure within the system until the power would come back on. Emergency management, hazmat teams responded. The refinery's got air monitoring equipment, and they did monitoring in the neighborhoods and the site. The unessential personnel from the refinery left the scene except for the people that needed to be there to control, making sure things were working where they were supposed to. So, and the hazmat teams responded, but that was a significant incident that happened, and it was a good example of emergency responders and industry working and monitoring to make for sure that the site was safe until the power got turned back on. But then Mike's just returning from a run that he probably didn't get all the way down there.
I made it to County Line Road.
Yep, they had a 6-inch gas main rupture, 6-inch gas main. That's a lot of gas to take it on, so that happened. Anybody aware of anything else major that happened in the state since we last met? I think it's good to bring these just to talk about them whenever they occur, so we're aware of what's going on and how the emergency response went.
Myra, do you have anything from the item standpoint? We knew about the BP.
Since the last time we were here, BP was the biggest one. that we've had, from our group that I can remember.
And I talked to our emergency manager and it seemed like everything went as planned, things like that happen. And that's why all those automatic emergency shut-offs kick off and flares kick on and, that's what they're there for. So, it was,
We're hoping to meet with people to talk more about communication going outwards towards the public and things like that. And we had a lot of calls to 911, local 911 call centers, then even to our SCO line, and I believe VHS watch desk, a lot of calls afterwards. Just basically the concern with so just to get a better, get the word out better to the community.
So I'm curious, because we're always worried about this in Marion County. Did anybody use like, iPods or, Nixle or Everbridge or any of those community alert network tools?
Not that I'm aware of. I do know that one of our responders had, was in communication with the personnel, and they did suggest that there is, the availability of iPods. And if it's not something that the state can assist with, in public, I guess public for that kind of thing. Sorry, not public, but facilities like the mind in order to get that kind of word out.
yeah, I know we have a lot of the communication centers within the state of Indiana have purchased stuff to do that, but it's not a standardized program. Everybody's got something different in the state of Indiana. Some that they don't have any. But when you see 6 flares kick off, they're used to seeing maybe 1 at a time. But when you send 6 off at a time, and typically it makes a lot of noise too, and the neighborhood's not used to hearing that. So getting that messaging out and the education's important, and building up that trust with the neighborhoods that, everything's functioning as it's supposed to under emergency situation. Without those flares, we would create a significant risk to the area. So, and I thought too, it'd be good. We're looking, we talked about internally the role of the state hazmat response and just some of the things that we're looking visionary wise, because we do have long-term air monitoring that takes place in some of these instances, whether it's a long duration fire or it could be a hazmat incident, is to looking they have drones that have air monitoring capabilities. We want to be that response where maybe the locals cannot afford the high-tech equipment, that we can bring that in, and also being able to put tethers up in the air to that drone so it can stay up as long as we need it for a long-term air monitoring. So you might be hearing more about that as we move forward through this next year, because I want us to get to the point to where we can bring assets to the table the local people can't bring at the state response level. Tier 2 updates, I guess, is next. You want to speak about the Tier 2 updates, Aaron?
So far so good. We're almost at the end of our reporting period for the facilities. No major changes on the facility side this year, except, no, actually, that's where everything's rocking and rolling. On our way.
All right. Next thing on the agenda, review and action of the November 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review and go over those? Any comments before we make a motion to approve those minutes? If not, anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
You got a second.
Chairman Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Bilkey,
Yes.
Ms. Dorsey,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Ms. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mr. Palin,
Yes.
Mr. Pridgen,
Yes.
Mr. Lamborn,
I will abstain. I was not present at the November.
and Mr. French.
Same here.
Travis is online.
Oh.
Yes.
Mr. Okay, sorry.
And we'll have to do that anyway on every one, right?
Yep.
Because he's So, all right. Next thing on the agenda is our fiscal report. Anything to report on?
Fiscal, we've finally, I think we finally made progress in getting our iHammer contract signed for the, Indiana Hazmat Conference. I know, legal was sending it out to iHammer to be signed today, so the last 2 years, I think we had 10,000 for 22 and 10,000 for 23 that's going for them, so, that should be going through to them. The only other fiscal issue or thing to report is myself, Aaron, Jackie, and Melissa will be going to the NASPO conference in April down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I don't know if we need a vote to approve to send us down there to that or not. Like in the past we voted, or have we not?
I don't think we ever voted on that before, have we?
Okay. Huh? I don't know. It's fiscal or money's involved, so I don't know if we need to vote or not.
It's in the budget and it's operational. We haven't voted in the past. And I could also, yeah. I don't either.
Okay. Works for me. So, and again, if any of the other commissioners are interested in attending, we can send you down. We're going to rent a vehicle and do the vacation thing. So we're gonna drive down to North Carolina.
Don't talk about it as my state.
Do what?
Don't talk about it as my state.
Oh, no, I'm talking about me driving down with Aaron, Jackie and Aaron, Jackie and Melissa. So
65 to 64 to 77 to 40.
yeah. And we'll probably get there quicker than if we tried to fly.
That's true.
So.
All right, next on the agenda is looking at some of our old business. IERC meeting dates approval, which we're here today, right? We talked about May 13th and talk an all day or longer day meeting. August 12th and the final meeting to be held during the hazmat conference. Let's see here where this is at. We'll talk about the all day meeting here after a bit, but I think everybody in their packet has, we talked about just getting contact information for everybody so we can communicate email, phones with everybody on the commission. So we've got that together. Number 8 on the agenda, new business. We'll move to Bill Zimmerman. Are you online, Bill?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I think we've allotted you some time to give your presentation to the commission.
Yes, yes. Jackie, do you have the slides you can put up for them or online or so forth?
Yes, give me 1 second. I'm working on getting that.
Perfect. Give you a second. So I'm jumping in. Ron Landry was going to present today, but he had a conflict. So I'm going to jump in and talk to you a little bit. Some of you are aware of our CFATS program where we regulated high risk chemicals and so forth. Right now, we're waiting for Congress for reapproval. So we've also branched out and decided, hey, you know, we may have reached out to about 80 or 90 facilities in Indiana, but there's another couple, 350 or so that aren't getting some TLC from the federal government. So we thought we'd expand our program a little bit. So, and this was what we're going to talk about today. So next slide, please. Why chemical facility security? As everybody in this room knows, there's a lot of bad chemicals out there that people want to mess with. through either stupidity or terrorism, or they just don't know what they're doing. So as you can see, we had a lot of threats out there. Toxic industrial, we just talked about industrial with BP Whiting. We talked about producing chemical weapons. We also have improvised explosive devices and that kind of stuff. So as you can see in the slide, there's a lot of things that deal with chemicals. And again, the Response Commission is well aware of with the Tier 2 reporting and working with all the hazmat teams, how much in Indiana our manufacturing, other businesses in the community rely on hazardous materials and high-risk chemicals. So as a caveat, the ChemLock program came out before CFATS went away or is on break right now. So we had, known that there was a gap in our program where we were only focusing on a certain number of chemical facilities. So we thought we'd hit a little bit more. Next slide. And again, some of these dangerous chemicals are toxic precursors. We got flammables and we got explosive precursors, and we threw out a couple of them, and everybody knows how much propane we have around the state, ammonia, chlorine, we got ammonium nitrate, hydrogen peroxide. I always tell people when they ask why hydrogen peroxide, I say, look at what 3% does on a cut to clean a cut on your hand, and imagine what 30 or 50% will do, and so forth. So all of that's bad stuff, and we want to make sure that everybody is receiving the same type of security for that. And a lot of what ChemLock is designed to deal with the mom and pops and the smaller. We know some of our big facilities have security directors, environmental health and safety directors. They got a security staff, and we're trying to bridge that gap where the folks that can't afford it or can't spend thousands of dollars a year on security or upgrades, and we try to find them the low cost solutions. Next slide, please. And again, when people talk about chemical facilities and they talk about critical infrastructure, and they say, hey, we just have to worry about chemical facilities or chemical manufacturing, and I'm like, this is all of the industries that reach out that we touch or have communications with. And again, most of you folks are well aware of all of these things with colleges, universities, cold chain refrigeration, energy utilities, plastics, paints, motor racing. That's a big deal in Indiana. Warehouses, distribution, water treatment. My favorite one is wineries and breweries, but for some reason they don't let me go to those because I sometimes don't leave. But that's another story. So next slide. So again, when I talked about it, we talked about, nationwide, we have about 32 facilities who are high risk under CFATS. And then in Indiana, there's about 90 of them that were formally regulated. And we said, hey, wait a second. We've been in contact with 35,000 other companies across the United States that either filed a top screen with us to show they had chemicals, changed their chemical manufacturing, change their product development to say, hey, let's get rid of this or let's lower the risk. And the good part is, we have a good idea of those 35,000, so we're working through it. But again, sometimes you don't what you don't know what you don't know. So we're trying to make sure we hit the facilities that we may not have previously identified or talked to. And some of that comes through going to LEPC meetings, going to district meetings, going to talk in the IERC. We've talked to IDEM and we've talked to the agriculture folks in Indiana, and we've talked to all the different state agencies. So we're going to start doing that again to make relationships because, working with the propane associations, the agriculture folks, we've got some great contacts. So we're going to continue doing that. And we just wanted to talk to the IERC and make sure radar, so whatever we can do to help is available. Next slide. And what we do and some of the things that we offer as we say, hey, we're going to do things and we're going to work with folks and, what can we do for them? We do security assessments. We do, we'll go out and look at it. We did it last week in Marion County, and we've done it a couple of times. We did Elkhart and Fort Wayne, where we went to facilities that had chemicals that might not have been regulated by us. but they have chemicals, and we said, hey, we'll do a security assessment and look at what you need, and we'll look at your security posture, and we give you options to consider how you can enhance your security, how you could do better. And one of the big drivers in our program is always outreach with local responders. We want the police and fire to know what chemicals are on site. We want the emergency management folks to know what's on site. So we push hard for that communication, and we provide contacts if they don't already have them. As I tell people, and so a lot of times, sometimes on the law enforcement side, we'll get the, hey, that's a fire department thing. And I said, 99% of the time, law enforcement is going to respond to an alarm before fire, just because they're on the road, okay? And they're out there looking for stuff. So we want our law enforcement partners to make sure that they know what's dangerous there, because we don't want to lose anybody. And responder safety is the number one priority for all of us. When our folks respond, they got a dangerous job, but we want everybody to come home safe. And again, we can do some planning. If you don't know how to do a security plan or develop a plan, we'll work with you on that. We have chemical security exercise templates that some other folks can do. We'll do tabletops. We'll have classes that we're doing around the country that are online for intro to chemical security, chemical security planning. Active shooter. We drive folks to do local with active shooter, but we have availability. So, and we have different resources that if you're not available to do that, we've got some training and exercise folks that we can contact. And the good part about it is our training exercise guy in Chicago loves to come to Indiana. He was down here last week, so he'll come anytime I ask him. So, there's availability, and we know local resources are there, but if we can help, we'll try to do the best we can. Next slide. And again, here's where you sign up. And I always tell people, if you send one of these to CISA for the ChemLock folks, you go online and sign up for resources. Let me know, send me an email, or if you don't have my contact, Jackie has it, and I can start the process on my end, or you want to understand what you're signing up for, what you're getting yourself into, because you never know with the federal government. But if you got more questions, anytime, reach out to myself or Ron Landry, and we are there to answer those questions and to guide through the process. So next slide. So full disclosure, my cyber security guys, JD Henry and Shatrice Romero, give me a hard time about the QR codes, because they know that's not a good thing in the cyber world. But we provide that again for another link. But if you email chemlock@cisa.dhs.gov, they'll answer. All else fails, reach out to me and I'll make sure you're helped out. And I think I have one more slide. And I'll buzz through that. And I went through fast. So if there's any questions, please let me know. I'm sorry I wasn't looking. Those slides. Usually only that happens when I'm right before lunch or going home. But the last slide is just another program that we're working with the Office of Bombing Prevention, the FBI, WMD coordinator, and those kind of folks. Is we go out to different businesses and provide information about, hey, if someone's coming looking to buy a lot of anhydrous ammonia, or they're trying to, buy a lot of parts that you could put together in a hardware store. We talk about beauty salons that have acetone and some other stuff. So we try to enhance awareness and stuff. So, and that's the down and dirty on ChemLock and our Operation Flashpoint. So if anybody's got any questions for me, go ahead.
Yes, this is Jim Pridgeon. I am a follower of the International Space Station, and I noticed recently we have been seeing on the site the Chinese International Space Station that's coming across the U.S. constantly. Do we have a way to shadow or black out those high-risk facilities? Because I'm sure there's intelligence being gathered as it's flying over the U.S.
So I'm not sure I understand 100% your question.
The question is, Locally, through the recorder's office or the treasurer's office at the local down here, you can actually go in and sign up, and as a police officer, to block out your residence so no one can see your residence, okay? It's the same thing I'm asking, can that be done for the Chinese International Space Station to prevent them from capturing data or the facilities that are listed throughout the US? Because I followed them this morning from about 2 o'clock through about 5 o'clock this morning. And now I looked on them again and they've disappeared. So they might have known that I'm watching them, but they're constantly up. And they're supposed to go down, I think. The next turn is going to be sometime in April or May. But as far as high risk is concerned, that would be some data that would be real easy to take as far as the sites are concerned. I'm also, from a military standpoint, concerned about our military installations as well, if they can be blacked out.
So I will ask that question. That's probably way above my pay grade. You know, I didn't say I'm the supervisor in this program for chemical security for Indiana and Michigan. And been in the program about 10 years, and I'm also a former St. Joe County Emergency Management Director. So, you know, familiar with, like I said, familiar with the IRC, and I'm familiar with, you know, some of that stuff. But Jim, I will ask those questions. I think that's a great comment, great point that, hey, maybe we should do that. Kind of right now, unfortunately, we're in a little bit of a lull with what we can do with facilities. We really can't. We don't have a lot of contact with them right now because our, again, limbo with Congress's reauthorization. I keep hearing it's imminent, but it is the government working. So imminent for you and me is like the next day or two. Imminent for them could be 6 months. But I'm definitely going to run that up the food chain because I think that's an excellent idea. I have no control over the military, and I'm a retired military guy too. So, but those are all great things, and you know, it's just the way the technology's out there and the things that are available to people that, you know, we need to figure out how to secure them more. So I will definitely run that up the food chain because I like that idea. So can I take credit for it, Jim, or do I have to pass it on?
Please do. I'm not one to garner credit.
I'll put you there, my friend.
I just looked at it again. They're off-site again now.
Yeah. So I'm definitely, yeah, I'd like to talk more about that if we can catch up. If Jackie, you'll send me your contact, or you can send you mine, and I'd love to talk more about a little bit about that because I think it's fascinating, you know, and we need to do something about it. It's like the balloons coming over last year, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I think your topic is both is more than ever. I think our group here can preach that preventative security message. There's so much out there that we're so vulnerable for. With the technology of drones today, the ability to get chemicals, that even the information that we share internally to our LEPCs, one of the things, and I think I've talked about it, is a lot of people are using their private emails to send us information, you know, that's not encrypted.
Right.
And we do that all the time. People are sending us stuff, and I have a hard time of knowing what to open, not to open on my work computer anymore. It's like, I guess they'll call me if it's important because I don't know what that link or what that email says. But I think one of the things that us as a group can do together is to help educate chemical facilities, and it's just not the big ones. You know, even there's a lot of military stuff that go to private contractors within the state without getting specific that nobody would ever know, but the people that are looking can find it. Yeah. And I think we can help serve the state of Indiana by getting that message out of how important, and maybe it's taking your information and help educating our chemical world in Indiana. To sometimes it's just little things that deter, you know. So I think we can probably put that on our agenda to maybe our all day is maybe talk about things that we can do to get that educational piece to the industries in the state of Indiana, of how we can help make their sites more secure, whether it comes to computers, storage, use, transportation, because everything that's used at a facility gets there somehow. It's on a rail, it's in a pipeline, or it's on a truck, right? So, and all
Exactly.
the stuff that's on trucks is real vulnerable, you know,
Yeah,
if
we don't
people knew what they
do
were-
transportation, but yeah, once it's on site, a couple of, to add to what you're saying, our services are free. Well, because we all pay taxes for it. A site assessment only takes a couple hours depending on the site of the site. And everything we do is close hold to the facility. We don't share that around with anybody. It's very limited access. And again, we've got a lot of experience. I've been doing physical security for some time and my team has all been doing it. So I can find you a $200 solution as opposed to a $5,000 solution. I got that in my pocket or my toolkit. So we got guys in Michigan, Indiana, they're more than willing to travel to help. And that's what we want. We live here, our communities, our people, our family, our friends. So again, we're as invested as you guys are in keeping the community safe.
This is Bruce Palin. I'm wondering what kind of response time do you have to requests that come in? I can't imagine at some point you might get overwhelmed with requests once this becomes better known.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, how are you gonna be able to handle a large volume or where are you at right now as far as time wise, being able to respond to requests?
We're quite available right now, again, because our other program is in hiatus, but we've got a team, I hopefully get back to hiring. We lost 2 people, 1 person, I got promoted and we lost a body to another job, but I have people available to go do this. And, like I said, it's not a heavy lift. I mean, literally we can go in and do an assessment and have a report done in a day, or 2, I mean, we have a system and we have a process where we look at stuff. So the hard part, honestly, and the pushback we're getting is whenever the government says they're there to help, you guys get it in the state level, we get it in the federal level. It's hard for some people to open the door. I've been able to do it with personal connections with, facilities that had regulated facilities, but didn't have added some unregulated. So I'd go do that. And then, there's a company in Indiana that's, always on the leading edge of doing smart things in Indianapolis. And they got a couple facilities that we went and visited because they wanted it. And they weren't asking just us. They had some other people come in, but they were proactive in it. And they said, what we don't know, that scares us. Just like every day, what keeps you awake at night for all of us. And this is what we're trying to help with is, help people sleep better and do the right thing by them. So I don't think we'll get overwhelmed, but any help and, I'll promise you that we'll get these things done. I don't, within a week, couple of weeks, 2 weeks or a month, we'll have it done for any of the visits we got. Like I said, my guys are excited to go out and do this. So.
Yeah, I think we can very easily. We've got a list of chemical industry people already, that we can help get the message out. So I think there's a couple different ways we can help you get that out there, because I would rather than look at the state of Indiana. It's like, man, it's going to be easier to do this in Ohio. And so very much appreciate your time today and bringing this to us.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And like I said, I'll stay on and listen to the rest of it. But if you got anything, Jackie and the team have my contact information and just have them reach out. If you want to reach out for more conversation or facility does, let me know. And, a lot of the big, some of the bigger chemical companies in Indiana know us well. And I can say this wholeheartedly, 99% of the facilities we've always dealt with like us. And again, when our program's on hold, but we've got the chemical industry and over 7,500 people have pinged Congress to reauthorize our program. So I think that's where I think our value added has been we take it as a partnership and we want folks to be successful.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, I think that's worthy of a conversation and look at, because under today's world environment, it's probably the worst it's been for quite a long time. So,
By the way, I did check again. They started yesterday morning around Las Vegas, California, and they ended this morning about 4:30 a.m. this morning. So I don't know if it was focused on,
Watching Super Bowl.
yeah.
They probably had a free like video link and then had to pay for it.
Well, they tried to.
That's why Mahomes won, because the Chinese were helping him.
No
Jim Pridgeon knows it.
all right, next on the agenda, the ERG book, there's a 2024 version that's supposed to be out this spring. It's not out yet, correct, Mike? It's not.
Yes, the new books are supposed to be printed sometime in February. We're working through our PIO department to get the message out to all 92 counties on the process of ordering the books and the distribution plan. So we sent something out with the EMA roundup this morning about be watching their emails, and that's the way it's going to go. So again, should be out maybe in April, hopefully.
What does ERG stand for?
Emergency Response Guide. It's the orange books.
Oh, the orange books.
Yeah. Yep, the
That's
orange.
what you need to say, the orange.
Updating.
The app should be updated probably when the new books come out. So,
No, online, it's still the old version online right now. And I think this next one, it needs some, because I've been doing this a long time, such as you, is that book stayed the same for quite a while. New things in this one, I think that we're gonna see is response on information to respond to electric vehicles is gonna be a new section in this ERG book. And also, it looks like warfare agents and first aid information is gonna be in this book. And I just know, speaking from experience, our first responders have some initial training on it and then they don't touch it again. Some do, but vast majority don't. And so I think, again, one of the things I think that we can do as a group is help encourage, not just I've mentioned this at every meeting, it's not my hazmat teams I'm worried. Because they get the training, they've got the gear, they got the air monitoring, they're trained to look at this stuff. It's that first police officer that pulls up, that first fire engine that's a volunteer fire department that he hasn't had the training, the refresher training, our EMS workers that pull up. Those are the people that they're gonna get in it before they realize they're in it and they're gonna be either injured or whatever. Our hazmat teams are trained, and I think I wanna figure out, I may be a veteran in our full day meeting to talk about how we really engineer that emergency response. We can picture our hazmat teams, but we only have a handful of hazmat teams in the state of Indiana. We got thousands of firemen, thousands of police that are gonna be there first. And we had a conversation about our hazmat teams are dwindling in the state of Indiana. After 9/11, everybody had money, everybody geared up, plenty of equipment. And over time, we're seeing a drain and fire departments choosing not to have hazmat teams, counties not to. I think it's key that we focus on those first responding, because if we can get life safety evacuated to a safe distance, we can wait for that hazmat team. It may blow up, but at least we won't have any lives lost, you know? So that's kind of, anybody have any comments on that? But I think that basic hazmat knowledge of awareness is really, it's important.
I agree. I'm just curious that, you know, Mike, since you go around the state and probably interact with a lot of the first responders, the fact that the WISER program went away. There's nothing that's taken its place. And I mean, for free. I mean, you can go out and buy stuff.
WISER is still active if you had it on your phone. You can still use WISER. WISER, the only thing that they're not doing any more new updates to WISER. One of the I would say rumors, but one of the things we heard was Chemtrek was interested in taking over Wiser from, who was it, who ran Wiser?
The National Library of Minnesota.
Yeah, so Chemtrek is a federal program also, and they were talking about possibly taking over and starting to do updates on Wiser. So I haven't heard nothing else from that. They got a national task force meeting. I think it's sometime in March. So I could bring that up and see if that's still an idea that Chemtrek is looking at.
I just think it created a huge void. And you're right, the mobile app, but if you try to go into WebWiser, it's gone.
Yeah.
If you downloaded it on your computer, again, you're right, it's not being updated and we really lost that connectivity to the ERG and the put the location, get a gross
If
win.
I'm not mistaken, the latest ERG edition on the app has the same plotting map that Wiser had. I'd have to look it up again. I haven't looked at ERG online in a while, but I was pretty sure the last time I looked at it, they were putting the mapping tool on the ERG also. So that's going to be available there. And we're going to really push this year. In 2020, the state ordered 35,000 ERGs. And right now we've got about a pallet and a half left of them. They ordered 4,000 Spanish copies and we've got about 3,999 Spanish copies left. So in 2024, we dropped our orders down to 28,500. And I think we ordered 200 Spanish copies. The reason being is the federal government wants us to push to the app because, again, ERGs, you know, we have somebody request 40 ERGs and 2 weeks later they request 40 more because I don't know what, if something eats them or whatever, but we're really going to start pushing people toward the app. Training academies, IMPD, IFD, we're going to use up our 2020s with them so we don't have to just throw 2,000 ERGs away. So because
You're gonna miss the updates.
but they can still train somebody on how to use an ERG with the 2020s.
It's not complete.
But all they're doing in the academy is training them how to look through the pages of the ERG and refer them to the app.
They hid the information in the new ones. I hate to train with something that doesn't have the updates to it.
Will there be availability to purchase? So like in Marion County, if we get an allotment, I don't know how many we'll get, but if for some reason we need more than what you're able to provide.
Now you can go online, you can buy the spiral bound ones. If you remember the old spiral ones?
Right.
And then, Federal Resources used to hand out ERGs that had a cover that said Federal Resources on it with an ERG. So yes, you can purchase ERGs.
I think they're about $5.
Yeah, I was hoping that we could just print our own. Is that possible?
I don't know.
You probably can download a PDF version because that's online right now, a PDF version of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we have in-house printing where we can print spiral bound our own and it's cheaper than if we go to JJ Keller or Resources or any of these other places. It should be. It's a PHMSA document, so I can't believe it's not. But anyway, that's another story.
Could you get me 1,000 copies of those, please?
I need to check. No cash, I'm sorry. Don't take checks.
What's our sense for how well connected we are with like the rail transportation?
Very connected, I would say.
I get emails on a regular basis that tells me when like a large hazmat shipment.
High hazard
Yeah,
transportation.
it gives me the route and stuff and actually, and they even throw in
He does.
Yeah, he does, I do.
a lot of like the DOT guidebook pages that goes along with it. So I get that at my level.
Is there any way that could be shared with the county dispatchers so they know what's coming through the community?
I don't know that the dispatchers are aware of it.
County EMAs get it.
Yeah, but That's different. The
Yeah.
dispatchers are the first ones to get notified. So if they had the access to it,
Yeah.
they could actually
I don't know
let,
who all's in charge of the security of that information. I know there's like a lot of people that would like stuff, but I get notifications. I don't even
Maybe
want
two.
very many people to know what's traveling on the rail
I'm sorry.
or rail, but I'll check into it to see.
because the state dispatcher organization is really the first line of defense, not the emergency management. They're the ones that get the call.
The only ones they're required to report are, I believe, unit trains or anything. There's a threshold limit. I believe they have to have 40 cars of a certain, 40 cars of ethanol. Then that requires them to report. Right now, I think we get Canadian National reports maybe 2 trains a week, and that's going through the north.
Yeah, so.
I know they're not moving crude anymore. Crude's pretty much all going south on the pipelines. So we don't have a lot of traffic like we had pre-COVID, but there's still a few going through. But there is that threshold that they've got to meet before they report.
But the number of trains have picked up. In Bartholomew County, it was supposed to go from like 6 trains a day. It's going to end up being 12 or 13 a day, right through near downtown. So that's why it would be so critical for us.
Yeah, and I think too, is at least in my view, if you have a train rolling down the tracks, you can count on having hazardous materials.
Yes, absolutely.
on that, you know, the security side of it, again, it goes back to the fixed facility. We got a lot of stuff that's moving in Indiana all the time, you know.
What about the waterways?
Well, we're pretty lucky. White River doesn't have a lot of barge traffic.
Yeah, I'm not sure on southern Indiana.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Really?
Yeah, it has quite a bit. You know, but then we take them and put them in jail. But the Ohio River, there was a transportation flow study done many years ago,
Yeah,
and it was like 52,000 or 52 million tons of stuff going down, and I can almost guarantee
Yeah.
that there were some hazmats on that too.
and that would be a real challenge because that's a whole nother, you know, when you spill that, it involves IDEM and it's continually moving. I mean, and I would be interested. I don't know anything about the emergency planning on Ohio River.
I'm a member of the Area Maritime Safety Committee out of Louisville. And the Coast Guard's got, there's one out of Cincinnati, one out of Louisville, and I believe one out of Owensboro, Kentucky. And they have different areas broken up through the Coast Guard, and they have usually quarterly meetings with all the response agencies in the area. They do drills, all kinds of stuff. I know in Louisville, they'll do drills with the paddle boat, the Belle of Louisville.
And Admiral Jackson.
Yeah, and they'll do work with the police on, assaulting barges and stuff like that, and any kind of information like that, we can get through them. So I got a barge tracker on my phone because I used to live in Madison and we were able to track barges.
I can get you a contact down there. We're part of the Port Authority and Port Grant process. There's an association that manages that. So
Yeah.
the biggest fun one coming up is, if you've never been, is Thunder Over Louisville. You talk about hazardous materials with a million people, but
That might be worth one of our meetings, is to invite somebody.
Somebody to talk about that.
Yeah.
if you haven't been to Thunder, you should go.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know the guy that
get-
runs it
I
for
can
the
get-
Coast Guard is named Jim Armstrong. He's a retired Coast Guard guy. Might be the same guy you deal with, isn't it?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
have an awareness of them.
Yeah, Jim Armstrong's the guy that manages it down there, and then there's a Coast Guard captain that's, I believe, the chairman of it. So.
And also the Coast Guard still monitors Wabash, right? That's part of their territory. Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the only river in Indiana that's monitored by the Coast Guard, and I think it's the Wabash.
All right. Next on the agenda, we'll talk about our all-day meeting venue. We had proposed maybe just to have a day at our next meeting is maybe 9 to 3 or something like that, just to talk about some of these other topics and discuss them in further length. And I think if I'm I think in your packet, there's just a sample itinerary. And we can maybe flush some of this out now and maybe put a further itinerary. But some of the things that I think we need to talk about is we've talked about maybe updates to the Indiana code as it relates to what we do. And we've talked about changing a fee schedule, and those are pretty heavy lifts in that whenever you take something to the legislature, it takes a lot of interested private industry and legislators to buy into something to even to get it there. And people are resistant to changes in fees. And basically at my level, if it's gonna add a fee, you know, we're not gonna touch it at Homeland Security. That message has got to come from someplace else. So I think a lot of work would need to be done so industry in Indiana can see the profit and the need to help work through the process of either looking at the current code and because how long it's been in play for a long time and hadn't been touched in a long time. So I would like to make it more business friendly, easily read and understood. And then like some of the fees, you know, we've got some people that have a lot of hazardous materials that are spending the same money as the mom and pop type. You know, is to look about and talk about at this next meeting is the all-day meeting is what are the 3 or 4 things with the code that we would like maybe to explore to see if we can get industry interested in entertaining a conversation about updating that code.
I guess I was envisioning maybe we could use some of the time at that day-long discussion to maybe strategize a little bit on that as far as what might be the best way to reach out to industry folks and how to get input, not only from them, but while you're looking at changes to the code, the LEPCs may have some thoughts and ideas as well that things that would make their lives easier. And so I think getting input from all these should be a wonderful way to kind of set it up then for a legislative discussion. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could send out some kind of surveys or questions to those groups, or you could set up 2 or 3 listening sessions around the state and invite those folks to come in and share their ideas or thoughts, or if you need to kind of tee it up with them and say, here's kind of what's on the table, what we're looking at. But, you know, they may have some ideas that would go a long way toward them feeling more supportive of a legislative change that included some fees if they're also getting some other changes that make their life easier or helps them comply easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the model fits exactly, but, you know, what we just went through with public health and Governor Holcomb and bringing together, you know, a task force to look at, you know, the public health needs and the infrastructure. And that was about providing new funding for health departments, maybe doing something similar where you get a key group of people, maybe get some industry leaders, certainly get some government leaders, maybe get some elected officials. Susan Brooks was very instrumental in what happened with public health. I know her lean is more towards, I think, terrorism and stuff, but I think she probably understands the chemical situation also. So if that's somebody like that would be willing to, and I agree with Bruce about going around the state and just talking to people and listening to people. And, you know, it's real funny, you know, looking at the report on public health, Luke Kinley, I mean, he had probably one of the best quotes in that. It's like, for the public health, it's like, you know, we've got a great economy, we've got a great structure, but we got a population that's not healthy. And you got to have that. And so it's kind of the same thing here. It's like, you know, we've got a great economy, we're hopefully educating people, but as you mentioned, we are struggling to maintain our first responder readiness. I mean, there are facilities probably around the state that just don't know how weak their responders are if they call 911 and expect a hazmat response.
Yeah, and I'll use the tank farm as an example. If we have a tank on fire, and typically, you gotta have somebody that's gonna decide, are we gonna try to put it out? Right? But you gotta make a judgment call and know how much product's in there versus the top of the tank. And how much foam, because if you take the tank and overflow it, then your product is on fire everywhere. That knowledge of how to calculate foam rates and the height of the tank and where that's at. There's very few firemen that can make that calculation out on the street on a run. There are big potentials that we need our hazmat teams to really understand how to operate, whether they can go offensive, go defensive, and depending on where it is in a community, they may not have any option but to go offensive. We had the propane down. It's been years ago, back when Chief Tibbetts was a fire chief for IFD, and it was in a residential neighborhood. He didn't have the decision of not going offensive. It's like, if we don't, there's going to be a big loss of life here. But anyway, I think having discussion groups go around the state to talk about what is the interest of the chemical industry in helping form legislation. This is where we're at. This is maybe where we could go, and even involving the LEPCs. And one of the things I've thought about since our last meeting is, and we don't know unless we put a survey out, like you said, but the members on the LEPC, what is their hazmat education? I don't know, but we'll never know unless we do like a survey. Are they awareness level? Are they operations level? And like this group here is made up of a lot of different industry, but then we have business owners and that maybe don't have a good hazmat background, but is to try to do a survey of the LEPCs about where they're at. Because I think one of the things, if we put a survey out and we see that there's we have a hole of any hazmat background on LEPCs, is make a training that would bring their level of hazardous materials up. So they can better have an idea of how to serve their first responders in their counties. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that part of the strategy you need to look at too is whether, and I know this is a dirty word probably for LEPCs, but more of a regional approach. And I think that having a high level of training for 92 different individual counties and all the folks in them is probably not a reasonable expectation. I think having training for them to say, yeah, we need to back off and call these guys in. And then maybe what we focus on are training who those guys are, and in a regional aspect of, and I know that there are already some regional hazmat groups out there that, maybe we should look at focusing on spending some of our resources and beefing them up and making sure that they can respond and have that level of knowledge you're talking about is within that group, so that local folks can just call them in and say, here, come help me.
But I don't think those locals agreed to be a regional team. It just sort of has evolved that way because there's nobody else
to fill the void.
I mean, when somebody in Shelby County has an incident with a rail car and they get on the phone and they're calling for a hazmat team, they're calling Indianapolis, they're calling Marion County, and nobody talked to IFB and said, hey, you want to be the regional team? Here's some few bucks that we'll give you for it. It doesn't work that way. Now, there may be in other parts of the state, but we're in a situation now where we're going to have consolidation between Wayne and IFD. Those two departments have our 3 hazmat teams, and I was talking with Marshall. We're just kind of waiting to see what happens. I think right now it looks like we'll still have 3 teams along I-70, but that doesn't mean this time next year or this time 2 years from now, hazmat is expensive.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, going back to more funding in the tier two is we should be able to show what that gets to the industry. Like I said, there are a lot. I talked to a guy who does a lot of training for Ford, and they've got plants in big communities. They've got plants in small. You know, these plants in small places are used to calling 911 and having somebody to come out to do confined space rescue and do, you know, hazmat and do all these special operations. And they just don't do it. And so it's a challenge. And like I say, for us, you know, we're just trying to figure out how that we're going to be able to maintain that level of readiness that people have come to expect.
And with that, you know, Indiana has done a pretty good job to bring economic development, to bring industry to Kokomo's a good example with what's going on. You know, but that takes support from public safety. And so maybe as we look in the regional type of thing is re-engineer it. So we do have some funding to support a regional approach to hazmat team. So that if IFD is that they get support or Columbus or Kokomo or wherever these are at, to help firm up that, because they don't have to do hazardous materials by state statute. I don't believe there's a thing that says you have to have a hazmat team, right?
Fire department?
And, huh?
You mean the fire department? They don't have to do hazmat, no.
Yeah, so the fire departments that have hazmat teams are because they see the need, they want to fund it. But we will continue to see hazmat teams go the direction it is because there's no state statute that requires us to have a hazmat team in the state of Indiana, right?
One of the biggest things we see that's on the horizon right now, from about the 89-mile marker to the 104, 106-mile marker on 65, as I was driving up today, there's an awful lot of, I call them concrete warts that are popping up because of supply chain. Warehouses continuously both sides. Some of those warehouses have hazardous materials. The question becomes, as I look at the fire departments from the 89-mile marker north, or even from the 80-mile marker north, Edinburgh can't contain them. Franklin can't contain them. Greenwood can't contain them. So where do you get that response on those larger facilities? And how does that happen? And does that come from the state? Would that come from Marion County? Would it come from Columbus? Where would it come from?
Greenwood has a large hazmat team.
Yeah. But could they handle everything from the 89-mile marker?
Everything in Johnson County.
Okay, they can handle all of Johnson County. What about just south of there?
Columbus.
Be Columbus only. And then south of Columbus would have to handle it. Because there's no,
Columbus responded to Jackson County today.
right.
So.
But those are popping up just like warts on a toad.
Yeah. Well, I say we're anxiously looking at north of there. We're looking at Lebanon. We're looking at that development that's going to take place between Northwest Marion County and Lafayette, and kind of looking at Toby like, okay, you know, where's this, you know, who's going to, you know, where's the dividing line going to be? Because we know Lily.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Lily's gonna be there.
We're actually living through that right now. So, you know, we're building the plants, 2 plants just north of Lebanon. And it's cutting edge. It's cutting edge, kind of revolutionary. What we're doing. Yeah. And so we've approached so between the chemicals and the gene therapy. So, I mean, even we're outpacing to some degree what, you know, the capability is with first responders just based on the science, right? And so we've had conversations with the Lebanon Fire Department, and so they're there to kind of support us maybe from a fire standpoint, but when you start talking hazmat, they've said, no, you know, we're not going to invest in that. We'll partner with you, but we've got to figure out a way to do this. I mean, even if we said, hey, we could have a blended department, it could be a Lebanon Fire Department on our facility. We'll train you up. We'll do all the necessary things to make sure that the training, the capability is there. But at this point, they're not comfortable
Yeah.
with doing that. So we're building our own fire department, hazmat. And then we'll work with, Boone County and, the MA. And so we're still having those conversations just because of the operations that will take place there. And, thinking about public safety, but then also when it comes to, protecting the assets.
Yeah, and that's where that economic development, we want it. But that safety side of it is gotta be there to protect, because the stuff that, whether it's you guys or Dow or
Yeah.
whatever, the R&D side of it, you can't lose that stuff. It's millions and billions of research that could go.
Yeah.
So I
That was
appreciate
kind of,
really doing that.
yeah, the part of what we're also finding is that we're looking at rail systems versus transporting things on,
Yeah.
through the roads. And so that's another challenge, because that's why I was asking about the connectivity there, because we're in other states. And what's happening is in this space, you have companies that are partnering together. They're looking at the rail system. They're not necessarily communicating with each other on what's on those, what's in the cars that are coming to these life sciences parks in California, North Carolina, Texas. And so, but that's the way the industry is trying to be more safe. So one of the ways to do that is through rail versus roadways and interstates and things like that. So it's all evolving really, really quickly.
Yeah.
We have good rapport with the hazmat managers. I know for CSX, Norfolk Southern,
Yeah.
I've got them on speed dial, and we just did a training up in Delville, in Delaware County. Local department said, hey, how do we get training? We called the hazmat manager. He sets it up and comes out and does the training for them. So rail, we're very well set up in the state of Indiana for rail.
We're seeing a challenge in the sense that, COVID, I think what COVID did is it scared a lot of manufacturing sites that they may not be able to always get raw materials. And so we're seeing some facilities that are ordering a lot of stuff and sitting it on rail lines that aren't necessarily on their property. And so we're watching it. We haven't launched any of them yet.
We ran into that down in Harrison County with Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil was storing 1267 crude oil cars on their spur line. Actually, FEMA Region 4 guy was driving back from Chicago, and we'd seen him parked on the overpass. We actually approached Lucas Oil, and they started reporting as a tier 2 oil storage supplier or oil storage facility. Because we told them each one of them cars that are placarded are considered, what's the word for it? Cars that haven't been purged or cleaned. They're considered 10%. They could still have, I can't even think of the word. Residual, yeah. Residual cars. So with 10%, and we counted the cars, we told them they would be well over the threshold of poundage to be a crude oil storage. So they started reporting.
But these are cars so Lucas Oil had accepted those cars, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What we're hearing is the companies haven't accepted the cars yet. They're still in transit. And so what we're looking at carefully, and we may talk to some folks at Rail, but is that, that's worrisome for us because the trucks aren't on the facility's property. They're sitting on rail lines in someone else's property. Nobody's really watching these cars. And I don't know if Bill's still on the phone but we have security issues because these cars are like just sitting there until the rail moves them into the facility.
Are they on CSX?
Might be.
I would reach out to CSX.
Okay.
Well, and two is, I guess if you have a problem if it's on somebody's site and they're
on rail, they're on CSX rail,
yeah,
but they're They're just sitting there. And so if one of them started leaking, there's nobody watching it.
Yeah.
If somebody were to do any kind of vandalism, there's nobody watching it. And so.
That's where this security comes into play that he was talking about.
Exactly. And one of these products in particular is an extremely flammable material.
Yeah.
And that's what's got us concerned. And we're hoping that we're able to resolve it without going to other means, but it is a concern. And that's, just something that we're seeing with rail.
And again, I would reach out. I mean, if you need, you do have Scott Carter's contact information.
Scott's still the guy?
Yeah. I'd reach out to Scott and just, express your
concern,
your concerns and see what he says.
Because, IFD is aware of it, we're aware of it, but we would much rather not have that potential there. Thank you.
I guess as far as the itinerary, I guess I would suggest that we could easily fill up the afternoon just talking about legislative and fee related topics.
Yeah, I do too.
And I think that just having that as more of a strategy session, if you will, to see how we might best go about pursuing that.
Yeah, and as we were talking and looking at the schedule here, there's a lot here, and we fill up the afternoon. Then we're going to add in the Ohio River hazmat situation, the blackout criteria as we were talking before, the intelligence that we we're talking before. We could have a 2 or 3 hour session the night before, or the afternoon before, technically, to bring up some of these others, because I don't think we're going to cover everything we said today plus this.
Do the most pressing now and then do some more in August.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if everybody's open to that, that way we're not spending overnight. I think we wanted to kind of do this as an offsite, just so it's kind of more of a relaxed conference meeting.
Yeah.
Still open to the public. So one of the things that we talked about, I think they had put together is a couple quotes or looked at Turkey Run, is to have one at Turkey Run, or we could have it here in Indianapolis at what was the other, the
Museum.
the Indiana Museum? Yeah. So I don't know what your feeling is.
We did have a 2/3 day session at Turkey Run many years ago. That's excellent facility, could accommodate us. The question becomes, from a geographic area, probably good there or either somewhere in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That's one reason why on the contact, I requested information on the county, so we can try to find a more central location for the all-day meetings.
Well, I'll be at either one, so I don't, if you guys want to do Turkey Run, that's fine, or if you want it here locally in Indy, that's.
It's gonna be much cheaper at Turkey Run than downtown.
Just have a helicopter landing pad.
Okay.
That's all I request.
Yeah.
They're gonna give us free entrance to the park and free parking too, so.
Is everybody okay with Turkey Run for that all day? And
They got a restaurant on site.
And we're starting early in the morning, right? I'll probably come over the night before, driving up.
9 o'clock, I thought 9 o'clock could give people some travel time in the morning.
And there is, we can stay there the night before, right?
Yes, there's an inn there.
There's an inn there if I recall. Okay.
But I think we just kind of put this as a idea of what the itinerary might look like.
Yeah, it was just an administration.
Yeah.
It's not a general idea.
Yeah, I would propose we kind of revise this, take out the training aspects and make it more of a discussion strategy session on legislation and.
'Cause I think that's gonna take.
If you guys want to do the training on the tier 2, we can always schedule where me and Melissa can come and do just like we do for the LEPCs.
We definitely want to touch the tier 2 because I don't think you guys really understand what the whole tier 2 system is and you guys pay for it. So we wanted to really go over what the whole tier 2 system is.
Oh, we do know what it is.
No, you don't, Jim.
I bet.
You probably haven't seen it in a while, have you? Have you? Okay. I'll test you on it.
I'm sneaky.
I'll test you on it.
Well, you still have time for that in the
Yeah.
morning
Yeah.
and maybe just take out the other presentations and use them more for strategy discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I want to make sure we spend some time on the strategy, so.
Can we also make sure we do the Ohio River hazmat?
Yeah, I think that's an important component because I've never even thought about how, if they had a large spill, all the different coordination of the agencies down there that would take to try to even control a spill. And then what happens to the traffic, that the normal traffic gets stopped, and you're gonna get a backlog of a lot of other things that are going on. So it'd be kind of interesting to know how all that works.
I could contact Jim Armstrong and see if they'll send somebody up and do a presentation.
Somebody from US EPA be involved?
I just sent them Jim's contacts.
Okay.
That's sorry, or?
Yeah, Jim Armstrong's Coast Guard.
So, business school, EPA, US Coast Guards and a bunch of the other agencies, the local agencies in that area. They meet together to do tabletop exercises. So then just recently, they did a float down the Ohio River to locate sensitive areas. So they do have plans and they do have boards all for a response. So yeah, there is a group together and I believe in
Area Maritime Safety Committee.
Yeah.
Right, because they've already evaluated, at least I know when Sewell and Shelley were talking about it, places where you can put in the sensitive areas, because they were trying to do something similar to White River, but they were modeling it after what had been done for the Ohio. So there are pretty extensive plans, I believe.
Yeah, I believe DNR conservation officers are also involved in that too because of, just boats. Item, we had two of our responders on that group as well. Our two southernmost responders and our boats aren't really adequate for the Ohio. So we do rely on Coast Guard, US Coast Guard and DNR and some other agencies nearby.
But yeah, I'd like to still, have somebody tell us how that works, all the communication, because it can get pretty confusing. I'm sure they're used to working together, but I don't know what it takes to.
Maybe we'd have the presentations in the morning and then the afternoon to spend on strategy.
Yeah. The other thing we would talk about too we talked about at our last meeting is signing the different commissioners, different regions and giving you guys the ability. We're going to put together like IDs. So you have an ID. So if you wanted to visit either a chemical facility in your area, that you would have something that shows you're with the commission. And then I'm trying to find what your duties are that you kind of put together just as a, have the ability to reach out to the different LAPCs in the region and discuss, the contacts. So every commissioner would have a different region to network within that region, and you can be a contact for that region on common questions that might come up. And I thought we were going to put together like a one pager of the most common questions people have that they could call, and you guys could kind of network within your region that you're assigned. So thought maybe we would go over that and talk about that at this next meeting too, if that's still something you guys think's worthy of your time.
Sure.
So. All right. Next thing on the agenda, the NASTA pot cost.
NASPO cost, we kind of covered that already.
Committees, I know we've talked about whether we use committees or not. Typically, I don't think we haven't really had a need for a while. I think the all-day meeting is probably a better way to solve and do some planning. If a committee comes up, what we really do, we can put together and have that committee, but I don't know that anybody have any comments about that.
think kind of what Bruce is saying, maybe if we have kind of a strategy or some plans for an idea, because like the communications committee,
Yeah.
I'm not really aware of any kind of, anything that needs to come before a committee that needs a discussion or review, but I'm sure there's things in terms of communicating with industry, if we develop a strategy to talk to them,
Yeah.
if it's communicating with first responders or just communicating with the general
I think
public.
coming out of this next meeting, like if we're gonna look at the code is, there may be a need for a committee to develop that group that goes around the state to listen to our stakeholders. What is it you guys want to see? This is a current, what the law is on tier 2 and Indiana law. And that might have a committee that might go out because, all of us aren't going to have the ability to do all the traveling around the state to be a part of that. But I don't want to have a committee that we keep coming around. What do you have to report? Nothing. So is really use them just on very key components.
Right.
Now, in our bylaws, and I didn't have it looked at, so do we still have committees?
So this is actually a revised copy. So I looked at the notes that you provided and I believe, did you provide any notes as well? Okay, so I'm looking at feedback. I looked at those and also just legal went through and this is kind of a revised copy. So this one doesn't have anything about committees, but if we did, if the commission wanted to have committees, that would certainly be added. But what we were kind of thinking to discuss today, which we discussed, was just, not having committees, mostly because of the administrative, it's like having one of these, like it has, like the notice has to be put online. It has to comply with the open door law. So it's kind of a lot. But just when something's needed, the chair can call basically a committee and then just on like an as needed basis. So that's not in this bylaws, but it can certainly be added. This is like a revised draft from legal that I was going to speak on afterwards.
And if we decided to go with committees, previously, a better way would possibly be to have the committee meetings the morning prior to the afternoon commission meeting. And that had worked well in the past, starting at 8 o'clock. Everything went through noontime, lunch at noon and back at 1. So you don't have to because when you're talking about policies, et cetera, it's really difficult to bring a policy up in this group and have a discussion about it and vote on it. It has to be some information that's provided before then. So at least from one commissioner's standpoint, I think at least there are some that are really critical. And you don't have to come back twice.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we covered the bylaws too, right? So look over the bylaws and see how they look, and I would like to vote on the bylaws at the next meeting. Unless there's something, that we need to make changes prior to then. That way we can get this one behind us, because it's been on our agenda for three of these meetings.
And the bylaws, I just tried to kind of make this as kind of consolidated as possible, not have any redundant language in there. And also we just want to stick to what's provided in Indiana code. We can't be adding stuff. So this should be pretty straightforward. And also I thought one thing that's helpful is, laying out the forum requirements, then also the electronic communication policy, because that's something that's not just the commission, it's every board and commission. I think that's created some confusion. It's yes, hybrid is allowed, but you also have to keep in mind 5 people still have to be present. Quorum is still 7, and you can only be you still need to be at least 2 meetings a year in person. So just keeping those things in mind.
Okay. What are the comments?
The first one is from Bill Zimmerman on the ERG. How often do we have poor internet on a response? Pushing the ERGs on point there.
In rural Indiana, and to me, I've always been a book guy, is if you got you should have it in your emergency response. To me, by the time I get online and find it, that books, I'm a book guy.
They don't need batteries.
They don't need batteries, and as you can see them in the dark, and books, even though they want to push the apps, I'm a book guy. Anytime I look at the building code, fire code, I like the hard copy in front of me.
Then we have Samantha R. As an EMA director and active LBC member, I struggle to get firefighters, EMS, and LE to participate in countywide free training if it's outside of their mandates to stay state certified.
Yeah, and this is where it's not just a state certification. It's an OSHA requirement for the awareness level, emergency response. That's why the police have it, the fire have it, ambulance people. It's an OSHA mandated requirement that if somebody gets injured, OSHA is going to want to see their training records. The attorneys are going to be wanting to see it's going to be a civil lawsuit if we haven't done those things that it's required. And I think across the board, most of the fire departments in Indiana are volunteer, but they still have to train those personnel to the OSHA requirements and to the state requirements. And I know that we constantly get pushback on how much training they have to do. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I want them to be safe, and I don't want anybody to get jammed up because we have somebody that's injured and not had the training they need. So.
Okay, and the next one, I'm gonna let the person speak. Monroe County.
So John.
Are they gonna come off mute or not? They're wanting us to address whether or not food purchases for LEPC members at meetings are allowed. Our fiscal agent is getting static from the county for reimbursement.
Okay, I'll just address that one. Is that it's not the job of this commission to take all 92 counties and decide what they can and cannot purchase. That's a local issue between your agency and the people that hold the checkbook. I've got 92 counties. I'm not going to police 92 counties. That's a local issue. That answer will be at the local level.
And also from legal here.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is just, the Indiana code just provides that you can pay up to $20 stipend per individual per meeting. Again, that is optional. It's up to $20. What you do with that $20 and how you distribute it, that is up to the counties.
I've always heard that we can't spend money on any food.
I'm not going to police that. We're not going to police that.
Are you talking about whether LEPC money from the state provides?
Yeah, I'm not,
That's the question.
we're not going to be that group that gets down in the weeds.
But the question is there anything in the state code that prohibits it? I understand what you're
The
saying.
state code, honestly, all it says is just, it's an optional $20, up to $20. And so that's all it says. And beyond that, it's like the specifics of it. I mean, if it would just be safer just to give people their up to $20 and have them do what they want, then by all means, please do that. Cause yeah.
And I've seen disputes between public safety agency and the town clerk. And this was approved in the budget, but the town clerk won't pay it. That's a local issue. I don't want to get involved in doing that. So.
Well, precedence has been for the last 9 years that I've been here dealing with LAPCs. And this was previous to Ian was the LAPCs could give the $20 stipend, or they could use that $20 toward food for.
I don't want to even go back in here. This
But that's-
is what I'm doing today.
But that's the history of where it came from.
I heard you say issue's done. You'd answered the question. Let's stop putting it on the record. Move on.
Yeah. I don't even-
The question I had from my LEPCs though was, because it's an open meeting and the public's invited, do they then also have the right to cover food for the public, people who are not?
That's up to them. I don't, the spending, I don't have an accountant that can look at 92 counties' budgets. And if I can't do that and audit 92 counties, I'm not wasting my time on approving that stuff.
I think that's why they keep asking.
And I'm just gonna keep saying, I'm not getting in.
And as Matt said.
For the fifth time.
Yeah, next on the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Squeeze the grease out of that possum.
Just, I put on here just hazmat awareness training. I would like to do a survey, I guess, to see where everybody's at in our world, LEPCs, to see what they have. Because if we have people that are coming on LEPCs, it would be nice to have a video or a training to give them, so they got some foundation as they begin their roles. Rather than here, you're on the LAPC and people don't spend the time to give them a guidance and education. So whether it's a video, something, I would like to explore that. Maybe we talk about that at our all day deal. Because I want to make it easier for them. I don't want to make it harder, is to, when you're on the LAPC, is some video that talks about why they're there, how they help the local emergency responders. It doesn't have to be long, but I think that way we have a better feel for a standard understanding of where everybody's at, I think.
I think I just heard the CERC chair just volunteer maybe to, once a year, do like a state of the state and welcome all the new LEPC members.
That's not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea.
We don't give them training. I mean, in our county, they get a notebook and talks a little bit about the history and what they do, but that's, we've shared it with Hamilton County but you're right, for the most part, people really don't. I mean, even if you're a chemical facility, you see one side of it. You don't maybe see the LEPC side of it. And we have EMS people, we have,
I think our website has, don't we have a training on EPCRA on our website?
I don't know.
Well, I thought we used to have.
There used to be.
Well, there's a video, EPA, and it's dated about LEPCs and
Well, we're in NASPO in April. That's something we can bring up to see if NASPO will reproduce a new EPCRA training up to date.
And this is the way, there's a lot of trainings there, video, people click on it, and the thing, it'll bore you to death. I like the state of people that are in positions now that are working, so it's at least maybe they'll recognize us as a group. I think just getting you out in your different regions is gonna be a big help. But I do kind of like that idea.
And also if we could use that same vein to the Association of Cities and Towns and also Association of County Commissioners, because at the beginning of the meeting, there's a rollover and a lot of them don't know anything about anything when it comes to LEPCs.
Get a receipt and they want somebody to pay it. What's this for?
Yep.
It's like, that's where,
We started that at one time and had one presentation to the Association of County Commissioners and one to the Association of Cities and Towns. And it sort of died and dried on the vine and became a raisin very quick.
Yeah.
Did we give a presentation to Elkhart Commission last year? In case he was still here?
Yes.
Okay, that would be good. And he can cover,
The LAPC set that up. We went out and did it for
you
him.
can see, you could cover that as part of that orientation. Because with the new commissioners, they need that as well.
And I'm kind of excited about trying to create and engineer something new, and trying to touch people in a different way. Most of the stuff is emailed and, a lot of training in it, trying to understand how the whole thing works. If trying to train somebody on the LAPC is just an email exchange, but if us as a group can get together and maybe do some videos, it doesn't have to be like a big production, but just to talk about, this is the role, this is what you do, this is why it's important, this is how you communicate to your fire departments, your police departments, engage your sheriff's department, I think a lot of the questions that we have will just be a lot easier to go away, just because we've done a little bit visionary work and put some things down for them.
I think that's a great idea. I don't know if there's any legislative hurdles or things you'd have to clear with Because I think about the compliance and ethics training we take as a member of the board, and if there's something that could be administered through the DHS, where all the 93 LEPCs have to kind of go through some kind of video.
Yeah, well,
To your
I
point,
mean,
then
we have
track
a
it.
public affairs group that does video on our social media and videos that already put that out. I can see this being relatively easy is to get, here's our script. This is the things we need to touch base on and just do a little roundtable coffee and talk about this is what your role is and this is why you do what you do. I don't know. It's pretty easy to make. It takes time planning, right? So. All right, let's see here. Next meeting, we'll talk about, I guess we'll firm up the turkey ride. You guys, go ahead and get that squared away and paid for and.
I'll get with Mike and get that set up.
Okay. I'll make sure we get that out as soon as we get that locked down.
The one that we missed with the find for that conference today.
Yes. The dates, is it, I don't see it in here. They're around Halloween, right?
Yeah, there, it's, October, what, 29th,
30th
30th,
and
31st. So it's the last Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday in October.
So do we know which of those days
We will be having a meeting on the 31st. Probably the same time as last year, either lunchtime or right after lunch. Usually they thought we'd do it at lunchtime and give people, they don't have to make a choice of coming to a meeting or going to a training. So if we hold our meeting during lunch, people can walk in, carry their lunch in and sit down and eat lunch and listen to us. Best way to have lunch.
I'll try to do it fairly quickly and get the agenda out for the all-day meeting, and then y'all can email me as far as if you think, hey, this is a higher priority, because we can't hit everything, but I want to hit the high points of what we think we need to be doing and prioritizing. So we feel good about what we cover that day. So, all right. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, can I say something?
Sure.
So, this is my last board meeting. I'm planning on retiring on April 30th. So Myra McShane, who's been coming with me, she's the ER section chief at IDEM, and she is already on as my proxy. So we'll convert over and send a letter, and she will officially take my spot on the board.
Appreciate your work while you've been here.
Oh, yeah.
You're
You're welcome. I'm not allowed.
question?
We'll have words.
Any openings for the public?
Sucking me back in already.
Laura just disappeared. I still got Laura's.
Two of them.
We want to make sure.
We have public and
Boom, I'm gone.
Public and industry. We do have public. Well, thank you.
Well, you guys can offer me something.
Not to do it.
$300.
Yeah.
Apparently now food.
Well, yeah. $20.
A sandwich.
Talking about that.
Do you enjoy being on this commission?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Everybody's good. These are-
Fired up, man.
And, you know, it's, again, in the chemical industry, the preventative stuff and the planning, when everything works like it's supposed to, it doesn't go on the news. We don't get a pat on the back, you know. And that's the beautiful thing, you know, it's whenever it goes wrong and the TV cameras are on and they're asking you difficult questions, that you don't have answers to. That's.
I can see it in the chairperson's eyes. I'm sure he's gonna ask you to take that one slot.
So there is an opening. We were just talking about.
Is there an opening for public?
Yeah, it's open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call the governor's office.
I need their permission.
Oh, yeah. We're just looking for.
Well,
Thank you very
I
much.
thought I was leaving.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not. But Myra will be taking my place at IDEM person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Cannot get away with that.
No. And I do have my replacement in case anybody cares. That has been named. It's Brian Wolf, who you know.
Good.
He's from our Office of Water, so he will be the next AC. So we've already chatted with him and he said, because he's unfamiliar with anything ER, that Myra would be a perfect replacement. We'd already been planned on that anyway, so.
These are the best, right?
Yep.
I do, I like that.
Anything else?
I'll sing it later.
All right, do we still have a motion to?
I'm a motion again, before somebody else retires. Right.
I second.
Let her second. Last official act.
People online and have to take a roll call vote.
He's no longer online. He had a meeting.
Okay, all right. I appreciate everybody's input today. Thank you.
Thank
you.